Well, the best place to start this walk is about a mile outside Haworth, just off the road which leads over Lower Laithe reservoir. If you can't park here, well, you can make your way a bit further up Penistone Hill and then come back to this spot. Now, the overwhelming reason for doing this walk is to visit Top Withens. It's the farmhouse on the bleak moorland up there, which was Emily Bronte's inspiration when she came to create a home for her brooding anti-hero Heathcliff in Wuthering Heights. Now, it says it's about 2.5 miles, so let's get going. Much of what we see on the walk today would have been familiar to the Bronte sisters, apart, I suppose, from Lower Laithe reservoir. They didn't start building that until 1914. But one of the attractions, though, for the Brontes would have been to visit a spa spring, which was discovered up here on the moors in the early 19th century. There's a popular myth grown up that somehow Haworth is a remote community, but it's not really true at all. The town of Keighley, which in its time has been a textile town, an engineering town, is only 3 miles away. And over here, of course, you've got the village of Stanbury. But the Brontes didn't live long enough to see the creation of the Worth Valley Railway. That began in 1867, and that really opened this area up, and given, of course, an even greater boost by that wonderful movie, The Railway Children. Well, this well-defined track for walkers is called Enfield Side Track, and it would have been created, I suppose, when all this land over here to our right was taken over for enclosures, and the fields were defined by these wonderful dry stone walls. There's a sharp frost, you need to take it easy down here, it gets very icy. Well, this Dean channels water off the moors, and it's a spot which was well known to Charlotte. Indeed, in November 1854 she wrote, "Arthur called to take me for a walk. We set off, not intending to go far, but though wild and cloudy, it was fine in the morning. When we got about a half a mile on the moors, Arthur suggested the idea of the waterfall. After the melted snow, he said it would be fine. I had often wished to see it in its winter power, so we walked on. It was fine indeed, a perfect torrent racing over the rocks, white and beautiful." Well, the thing is that just beside the falls was this strange rock, and it's called the Bronte Chair, and indeed the Bronte sisters are reputed to have sat here and written some of their earlier poetry. And just opposite the Bronte Chair, there's a plaque set into the rock here, which contains the words, "O Lord, how manifold are thy works! In wisdom hast thou made them all. The earth is full of thy riches." That's from Psalm 104. And then there's a little verse underneath which reads, Father Almighty, wonderful, wondrous Creator, ever adored, wonder of nature, sing praises to you, wonder of wonders, I may praise too. Well, this clapper bridge is not the one that the Brontes would have known, because the original was washed away in a flood in 1989. This replacement was built in 1990. Well, from now on up to Top Withens, the going gets a bit steeper. Well, if you want proof that the appeal of the Brontes spreads far beyond these shores, then there it is, the signpost to Top Withens in English and Japanese. Well, here it is, Top Withens, or as it was originally known, Top Other Withens. The original building probably dates back to the late 16th century, and certainly at the time of the Brontes, it would have been the most desirable of residences anywhere on these moors. Let's go and have a look. Well, the view of the moors from Top Withens is best described by Emily herself in the opening pages of Wuthering Heights. Wuthering being a significant provincial adjective, descriptive of the atmospheric tumult to which its station is exposed in stormy weather. Pure, bracing ventilation they must have up there at all times. Indeed, one may guess the power of the north wind blowing over the edge by the excessive slant of a few stunted firs at the end of the house, and by a range of gaunt thorns, all stretching their limbs one way, as if craving alms of the sun. Well, here we are. This plaque, placed by the Bronte Society back in 1964, says it all really. Top Withens. This farmhouse has been associated with Wuthering Heights, the Earnshaw home in Emily Bronte's novel. The buildings, even when complete, bore no resemblance to the house she described, but situation may have been in her mind when she wrote of the moorland setting of the Heights. Well, Wuthering Heights was Emily Bronte's only novel, but despite that, it's probably one of the best-known and most widely read in the English literature. And of course, since Emily's death, it's had new life because of the various films and television adaptations, and even that #1 hit by Kate Bush. I suppose one of the most evocative scenes in the novel is set here in the house when the narrator and Heathcliff's tenant of Thrushcross Grange, Mr. Lockwood, gets marooned here after a blizzard. He has to spend the night in the house, but he's awoken by a branch tapping on the window. I muttered, knocking my knuckles through the glass and stretching an arm out to seize the importunate branch. Instead of which, my fingers closed on the fingers of a little ice-cold hand. The intense horror of nightmare came over me. I tried to draw back my arm, but the hand clung to it, and a most melancholy voice sobbed, "Let me in! Let me in!" "Who are you?" I asked, struggling meanwhile to disengage myself. "Catherine Linton," it replied. Why did I think of Linton? I had read Earnshaw 20 times for Linton. "I'm come home. I'd lost my way on the moor." As it spoke, I discerned obscurely a child's face looking through the window. Terror made me cruel, and finding it useless to attempt shaking the creature off, I pulled its wrist onto the broken pane and rubbed it to and fro till the blood ran down and soaked the bedclothes. Still it wailed, "Let me in," and maintained its tenacious grip, almost maddening me with fear. "How can I said at length. "Let me go if you want to let you in." The fingers relaxed. I snatched mine through the hole, hurriedly piled the books up in a pyramid against it, and stopped my ears to exclude the lamentable prayer. I seemed to keep them closed above a quarter of an hour, yet the instant I listened again, there was the doleful cry moaning on. "Begone!" I shouted. "I'll never let you in, not if you beg for 20 years. "It is 20 years, mourned the voice. 20 years. I've been a waif for 20 years.